So let's talk about it. Who's going to win this election? Who's going to win this election? I know that's what you all are here for. So let us wait no longer. Who am I selecting and who do I think is going to win this election? Let's go.
The Nostradamus of presidential predictions is out with his pick finally for who will win the White House. And he's been right 9 out of the last 10 elections. The local historian making the national news right now, Alan Lichtman, joining us live with his choice and why he made that pick. Always a pleasure to talk to you. We've been waiting for this. We're not going to wait any longer. Let us know what you decided.
You know, my prediction system is unique. And as you said, it's been essentially right for 40 years. I would say 10 of 10, but we're not going to relitigate 2000 here. And the way it works is it taps into the structure of how elections really work as votes up or down on the strength and performance of the White House party. And if 6 or more of my 13 factors go against the White House party, they're predicted losers. Otherwise, they are predicted winners. And I finally come to my final prediction and concluded that the White House party, the Democrats, now represented by Kamala Harris, would not lose any more than 5 keys. Thus, my prediction is Kamala Harris will be a precedent-breaking president of the United States, the first woman president in U.S. history.
All right. You heard Alan Lichtman say that, my professor at American University, and I'm going to agree with my professor. Kamala Harris will be the next president of these United States, number 47 in our community. Yes, she will be the next president of these United States. And I think it is demonstrative. It is something that is bound to happen. And we're now going to talk about why. And why do I think that it's going to happen? And why do I think, this is not even debatable? I'm calling it Black Uhuru. You can quote me on this. And there are 10 reasons. Now, Alan Lichtman always taught us at American U that there were 13 keys. I have 10. 10 reasons why Kamala Harris will win this election in November. First, her support is wide, and she's building it deeper. Yes, when Kamala Harris took over the lead of the Democratic Party ticket, I know a lot of people were like, I don't know. Let's be frank, Democrats. She was not the first choice of many people, yours included. I did not see a lot about Kamala Harris that gave me hope that she could enter a race in an unprecedented way, take over the top of the ticket, and beat somebody who had taken the lead at that time from Joe Biden, based a lot on that terrible debate where he came off as the crypt keeper and like somebody that could not only lead the nation. Not sure he should be in charge of the cookies in the container in your kitchen. That's how bad that debate was. But I digress. There was nothing really in her background that suggested that I thought that she could take the lead and lead in that way. There were hints about we should have an open convention, that there were others who could. And let's be frank, there were thoughts that there was friction between the vice president and the president's staff on some level. I don't think ever between the two of them, but between the staff, and there had been large staff turnover, and the people know enough about her. Could they introduce her to people, to America who had just seen her as vice president? Could they really see her as the leader of this party? Could a black woman win this race against somebody like Donald Trump, who has made this country more xenophobic, less hopeful, more or less worse than America might have looked at race when Barack Obama first ran? Indeed, could she even debate a Donald Trump better than Joe Biden had done? If you had watched Kamala Harris debate when she ran for president, she had that one shining moment where she attacked Joe Biden, and then she sort of fizzled when Tulsi Gabbard went at her the same way, and her campaign limped to the end of 2019. The campaign never even saw a caucus or a primary state. It was a terribly run campaign in 2019. You spend all that money, raise millions of dollars, and you don't even make it to Iowa in 2020. And her debate with Mike Pence, I think there could be an argument that Mike Pence beat her in the vice presidential debate if you look at the style and look at the substance of the matter. And so there was a lot of doubt. Since coming onto the ticket, Kamala Harris has taken the Democratic Party over by storm. Interest is up. Participation is up. Enthusiasm is up. She closed the enthusiasm gap, and it hasn't even been close since then. She has literally pulled even with Donald Trump and taken the lead in many polls. And I see the support is just wide. She's doing better with African Americans than Joe Biden did, almost hitting 2020 levels. She is doing better with Latinos at this point, though not necessarily at 2020 levels yet. She's doing way better, even better with women. She's doing better even with black women and other women of other hues. She's doing better with suburban white women. She's doing better than I think anybody could have hoped for. Now she's building it deeper. If you look at a lot of other things that we're going to talk about and some of the other 9 reasons why, she's just building it deeper and deeper, but the support she's received is wide. And I will say it's wider than Donald Trump's support at this time, because Donald Trump's support is MAGA, and he has not been able to move from 43 to 47% above that nadir, that 43 to 47%. He's not been able to move his numbers higher than that. Why? Because he has not tried to have a big tent. He has not tried to change and increase his coalition and add groups to it. He has doubled down on rhetoric and red meat dogma just for his base. And the base of either party can't win you an election in November. Harris's support is wider, and she's building it deeper as we speak than Donald Trump. The second reason why Kamala Harris will win this race in November is that she is winning independents. Now, if you watch my scenario, you've heard me talk about what each candidate needs to do to win this race. I have told you that both candidates, both parties, have 2 mountains, a mountain each, that they have to climb in order to win. What the Republicans have to do is Donald Trump has to win independents. Why? You've heard me say it over and over again, but I'm going to keep applying it like a salve to fix your wound that I can apply over and over again until you heal or until you get it into your brain to think about elections every time you hear coverage in the way that I'm going to tell you. You should look at it. Donald Trump cannot win in November unless he wins independent voters. And we have a lot of evidence that shows that. One is 2016. How did Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton? By the smallest of margins in the smallest number of battleground states. It's because he won independents. The problem that Donald Trump has had since 2016 is that he hasn't won independents in any race since then. In 2018 midterms, Republicans lose the Senate basically because during the midterm, Republicans are not winning independents. In 2020, did Donald Trump lose his re-election campaign to voter fraud? No. He lost because he did not win independents. And in 2018, in 2022, the red wave that was going to come and consume the Democrats in both houses of Congress, did that red wave ever materialize? No. You know why? Say it with me, choir, because Republicans lost independents for the 3rd cycle. And in 2024, after that horrendous debate by Joe Biden, Donald Trump took the lead with independents. He was up by 9. But guess what, folks? He is losing with independents now. And I keep telling you, he's not doing anything to try to capture them back. Harris is winning independents, and that's the second reason why she'll win in November. And if you want to know, the hill that Harris must climb is that of turnout, which is the third reason why Kamala Harris will win in November. She is close to matching her 2020 turnout support levels, and that's what polls are showing. Now, as I told you, the mountain that Republicans and Donald Trump had to climb to win was to win independents in 2024. The mountain that Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and the Democrats must climb to win in November is turnout. They must get the same turnout or damn close to it in 2024 that they got in 2020. You know how Joe Biden was able to beat Donald Trump? He got more votes than Donald Trump did in a record-setting year of voters. Donald Trump will tell you he got the most votes of any Republican in the history of American voting for the presidency, and he was right. Problem was, Joe Biden got the greatest number of votes in the history of American politics for a Democrat, and that was more than Donald Trump's numbers. They have to come close to that. And while she's not there yet, she is closer than Joe Biden was, a lot closer than Joe Biden is, and she has more pathways to grow. How do we know this? It's because Latinos are still not at that level, but she's surging up with that criteria. She's already winning independents. And I'll talk to you about the Republican vote that is out there for her to grow as well, because Donald Trump is not campaigning to them. He's not running a campaign that is attracted to them. And that's another pathway for her to grow her number to 50. If you look at the most recent polls, and you know how I feel about polling, I can leave it or take it. But the polls are good for showing trends. And what you're seeing is a small growth for her, where she's starting to poll above Donald Trump in terms of the margin of error in the 11 battleground states that I will tell you about later that you should be watching out for. Don't look at national polls. Look at the battleground polls. But she's starting to inch up slowly but surely, and that's a momentum that Donald Trump has not been able to counteract. The fourth reason why Kamala Harris is going to win this race in November is the economy is gaining momentum with less than 40 some odd days out. Yes, gas prices are going down. We had on my TikTok channel, we talked about it last night, that gas in certain places is now just what, $2.89, $2.50, where it was $5, $4 just a year ago, $3.89. It's now going down everywhere except California. California is just an anomaly in the averages here. But gas prices are going down. The feds are now knocking interest rates down. The stock market has now set records. You had comments from JP Morgan's Chase's CEO, Jamie Dimon, that we're not going into recession and that the economy is cooking. It's cooking and it's cooking well. And I know what some Trump supporters will say who watch this content, right? You'll say, but inflation is still high. Inflation is now back down to the 2021 levels of before of when we were starting to come out of COVID, out of the worldwide pandemic, and that's what you're starting to see now. And if you watch my content from 2 years ago, when I said there were 5 reasons why Donald Trump would never be president again, I said one of the reasons was that the economy was going to start to cook, was going to start to rebound in ways that people were going to start feeling it, and that was going to make the difference. The economy is gaining momentum, and so is Kamala Harris. The 5th reason why Kamala Harris will win in November is simple, is that she has better specific plans than Donald Trump. You know, Washington, when we talked about when Kamala Harris first became the nominee, literally 2 days after she became the nominee, the right started saying, well, where's her plan? What's she going to run on? I mean, she hasn't a plan. It's been a week. It's been a week. Where's the plan? Where's the plan? And she slowly started unveiling her plan. Now, for all the doubters out there who want to say, well, she's been in office for 3.5 years. Why did she do all this stuff late? Then why is she talking about plans? She could have done all this stuff then. No, she couldn't have, because we were coming out of a worldwide pandemic. A worldwide pandemic where every industrialized nation on the face of God's earth has ultra high, uber high inflation. And America's inflation was devastating, but it was not nearly as bad as anybody else in terms of the industrialized nations around the world. And you don't do new programs when you're coming out of COVID. I tell you what you do. You do the American Rescue Plan. You do child care tax credit. You do infrastructure. You do capping medical prices. And you have to let interest rates go up, because you have to try to gauge and move development and move economics so that the average person is going to be helped. Yes, the whole world has suffered inflation for 3.5 years. And so it is not one president or one party. It's all industrialized nations. And so, yes, the policies of the Biden-Harris administration was to combat COVID and to get this country back on its feet again. And it took 3.5 years to do it. And now we're able to move on, or at least she's proposing moving on to new ideas. And the ideas have been that she's put forward, whether it be the middle class tax cut that she wants to do. And she wants to pay for it by reversing the tax cut that the rich received that were not expired. Remember, Donald Trump gave everybody a tax cut, but the middle class and working class tax cut got expired to pay for the upper class tax cut. Well, she wants to bring that tax rate back to where it needs to be. Not take it back up to the 39% that it used to be at under Joe Biden, but she doesn't want to be at the 21% for the corporate tax rate. She wants the 28%. And with the dividends that she gets from that, it's how she's going to pay for the middle class tax cut. She wants to give $6,000 to new parents so they can afford the things you need to start off a family. She wants to give $25,000 to new homeowners to help spur home ownership and create generational wealth, because home ownership is how you get there, right? She wants to make sure that she gives a $50,000 tax credit to entrepreneurs to find the next Steve Jobs out there who's working in his doggone, or her working in her doggone garage with the new industry, the next new big bright idea. She wants to fund that. That's where the big ideas come from. They build off of what happened during COVID, and her plan is better than Donald Trump's plan. If you compare her plan from her website to Trump 47, I know you guys don't like us talking about Project 2025. We're not going to talk about it. But just from Trump's 2047 plan, it's a better plan. And Wharton economists prefer it. And so do most actually economics who don't have any dog in this race. Donald Trump never really says how he's going to pay for any of his stuff. And he can't get it through Congress because Republicans don't support the things he's talking about now, like these tariffs or making sure that we don't tax tips or we don't tax Social Security or Medicaid. It doesn't tell you how he's going to pay for it. And Republicans don't support any of those things. So it's doubtful whether he can get it through Congress. Again, Harris has the more realistic plan, the more pragmatic plan, and the plan that most people say will actually help the economy and help individuals in that economy a lot better than the Trump policies will. The sixth reason why Kamala Harris will win in November, yes, she's going to win in November because Trump is imploding. Trump is imploding. And I hate to say it that way. He's imploding. These Jewish remarks, the campaigning in New York when he should be in battleground states, is the length of time is too much to even go through. But he's imploding. And it's happening right before our eyes. Campaign, intel, Republican senators, advisors are telling him to stick to the issue they think can win this race, the economy and the border. And he can't help himself. And he took the bait 12 times in this debate with Kamala Harris by chasing the shiny new object instead of debating her on the issue. The implosion is going to cost him the election. The seventh reason why Kamala Harris is going to win this race in November is the Senate races in battleground states all are trending towards Harris and the Democrats. Listen, except for 2 states that I think are out of our range and out of our area to capture, all of the battleground states that I'm talking about now, have Senate races that are in play. Even places like Texas and Florida where they should not be in play. And that shows a strength of the Democratic ticket. And it shows that there are legs to that race and legs to her campaign that will lead to Democratic victories in those states. But those are all about trends, about where voters are moving, that they're even voting for Democrats in battleground states for Senate and for House races as they consider voting for the top of the ticket. That's good news for Harris. That's bad news for Donald Trump. The eighth reason why Kamala Harris will win in November is that Republicans for Harris is real. Folks, I told you all, if you watch my content, that there will be a well-organized, well-financed campaign that of Republicans that would have Republicans speaking to other Republicans, not Democrats, Republicans speaking to other Republicans about this race. That you would have former Congress people who were Republicans endorsing Harris, that you would have former staffers to those Congress people, those Republican Congress people supporting Harris, that you would have obviously the Never Trumpers part of the Republican Party, but you were also going to have Republicans from the Trump administration, because 65% of the people who work with Donald Trump don't believe he should be anywhere near 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, that they would be supporting him. And I talked about that you would have people who worked for former presidents and former former administrations, Republican administrations, that were going to come out and support Kamala Harris. And that is exactly what's happening. Republicans for Harris are talking to Republicans in Republican swing districts, in purple districts, and in battleground states. And that mining, that targeting of those votes are going to pay dividends for her come November going forward. The Cheneys have endorsed her. 700 high-ranking national security advisors have endorsed her. State directors of the Nikki Haley campaign in Michigan and Iowa and Vermont just this week have endorsed her. And there's more endorsements coming down the pike. So just stay tuned about more top Ronald Reagan mainstream conservative Republicans coming out and endorsing her and supporting her. The ninth reason why Kamala Harris is going to win this race in November is because polling is missing multiple indicators that will expand Harris's lead. If you watch me talk about polling, I would tell you that polling is based on models that happen in history, and they don't take in registration, new registrants that wouldn't meet their model. You know who has won the registration fight with new voters 5-1? Kamala Harris. Polling is not picking up new registrants. Polling is not picking up young people. Polling is not picking up people who are outside of the model from the last election. They're not picking up people who are going to expand her lead and lead her to win in those 11 battleground states, at least 7 of those 11 battleground states that we talked about. MAGA, and the 10th and last reason why Kamala Harris is going to win this race in November is simple. MAGA is being destroyed from within. MAGA is being destroyed from within. From Taylor Greene versus Laura Looper to the Mark Robinson fiasco in North Carolina, to RFK Jr. endorsing Donald Trump and being accused of having an affair, to Matt Gaetz charges resurfacing, to Congressman Comer's House committee hearing on Joe Biden in a desperate attempt to try and, sully Joe Biden, and then sully, I guess, by attacking Joe Biden, sullying the Harris campaign, to Fox News reporting just ridiculous things like criticizing that Tim Walz knows how to fix an engine. He's not a real man, so how can somebody who's not a real man fix an engine? To them touting that Donald Trump somehow won the debate with Kamala Harris. To Lindsey Graham arguing that Nebraska needs to change its electoral college, how it votes, so that Donald Trump can get one more elector. It's smelling. It's stinking. It is. Representative Wesley Hunt of Texas. It's reeking of desperation. And MAGA is really killing itself in the same way that the Tea Party killed itself. And I would go on the left, the same way that Occupy Wall Street, killed itself. Movements built on anger and grievance and disenfranchisement and more anger and more grievances don't win elections, and they don't last. They have short lives, and they become memories and asterisks when we talk about what really moved elections and what really was consequential to determining the direction of a nation. And MAGA ain't it. And once Donald Trump loses in November, MAGA will go the way of the Tea Party, the way of the alt-right, and the way of Pat Buchanan, and the way of the religious right and Jerry Falwell from the 80s. It will be something we will talk about as a movement that had a good shelf life of 2 to 4 years and went back into oblivion. Now, I will say that the only caveat to Kamala Harris winning in November is that it's a race against the clock at this point. She's got to canvass her vote. She's got to bank her votes. She's got to keep her vote engaged. She's got to get her vote to use absentee ballots. She's got to get her vote to confirm registrations. She's got to get her vote to vote early. She's got to get her vote to the polls. She's got to get her legal team to win challenges to her vote before, during, and after the election in order to win this vote. But if she can, and I think that she will, Kamala Harris is not only going to win this election in November, she's going to win it handily. My final numbers nationwide is that Kamala Harris will win this election with 53% of the vote. You heard it here first. And Donald Trump will limp to the finish line with 46% of the vote. You heard it here first. That, in modern election terms, is a blowout race and as close to a landslide as we're going to get in the modern election era. I want to hear your comments about that.
This is Curious Formula, and you're here on Wednesday Night Live. One thing for me. Well, I want you to do three things for me. I want you to subscribe, like, and comment below. Be a member of this channel. Hit the notification bell and to let you know when we go live. We go live every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.